Welcome to the Tibetan Buddhist Society and the introductory series. Thank you. So this is the third series in the introductory series of the Tibetan Buddhist Society. The date is 6th of June 2021. And the Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment is a book produced by Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden. So this week we're going to have a calm and peaceful encounter with calm and with our mind to ensure that the events that are happening out there, we get some sort of respite during this session. We're also going to discuss patience, great patience, impermanence, imprints of anger in our minds, and also dealing with angry people. So events of late have caused fear and concern and uncertainty for many. Sometimes to make sense of it all, we connect with like-minded people to give us strength and comfort. But sometimes blaming is another way of coping. Blaming is a subtle form of anger, which we're going to discuss a little bit later. So if our minds are filled with apprehension from these ever-changing external events, then it does affect us in many levels. We become agitated, we become restless, and our health suffers. But when we look into our own lives, we see that we have faced adversity and hardship many times. And if the fact that you're here today is indication that you've actually overcome these hardships. But we sometimes forget that within us is a tremendous capacity to overcome suffering. Now let's look at difficulties and adversities. In the Meditations to the Path to Enlightenment, it says there are two outcomes. So one, that there is a solution and it can be remedied, whatever difficulties we are experiencing. And the other, that there is no solution. So if there is a solution, then you have nothing to worry about. You just put the solution into place with your own resources or help from others. If there is no solution and there is nothing that you can do about it, then there is no point in being anxious or fearful. When you internalize this and really make sense of it, it's like a heavy weight has been lifted from your shoulders. So just strengthen your resolve to patiently accept the situation, like the lockdown. We're now going to give ourselves a break from all these external events and engage in a gentle, peaceful, and calming meditation. So find yourselves in a comfortable position with your back straight. We have a straight back as it allows the energies to flow freely within the body. Place yourself in a comfortable position where if you need to move, you can. Your feet on the ground or cross-legged if you're on a cushion. Your hands loosely on your lap or the right on top of the left. And make sure your jaw is loose. So we start now with a body scan to identify places where you may be holding tightness and stress. We gather our mind from activities of the day, yesterday, thoughts of tomorrow, We gather the mind gently to our feet. And as our mind gathers to our feet, we become more relaxed. Then we bring the mind to our legs, knees, back, releasing any tightness, releasing any unnecessary tightness. And the shoulders are loose. And going down to the arms, to the hands, left hand, right hand, simultaneously. And you may feel your hands becoming soft. We bring our minds to the tummy and chest, up to the neck and the jaw, relaxing the jaw. Our tongue above our palate. Facial muscles relaxed. Back of the head, moving upwards, the top of the head, down to our forehead, releasing any tightness. And finally down within our eyes. Feel for any tightness in the eyes, knots. Allow your eyes to soften. And as your eyes relax beneath the eyelids, you feel a sense of calm, within your whole body. We're allowing our bodies to relax in the moment, to re-energize, and our minds to be peaceful and calm, to be clear and knowing. We now gather our mind to the breath. And the breath may be wherever you feel it the most. Back of the throat, tips of the nostril, rising or falling of the chest. Just gently gather the mind there at the breath. Just ride with the breath. Wherever you sense and feel it. And if thoughts arise and take your mind away, just gently release the thoughts with your mind and bring it back to you, to the breathing, to the natural rising and falling of the breath. So if while we're meditating, your mind escapes again to thoughts of yesterday, today, tomorrow, the moment you are aware, bring the mind back. Bringing the mind back to you, to the breath, increases your concentration, your awareness. So as we're focusing on the breath, you may notice now that your breathing has changed. Allow the breath to fall in its natural state. And within the breath there is this calmness and peace. Where you feel the breath now filling your body, and as you breathe in, imagine you're breathing in clear, crisp air from the Himalayas or any mountain top, and then exhaling any worries and concerns. And as we breathe, the clear air fills our body, our chest, torso, legs, arms, hands, our head. And the clear, clean breath is purifying all diseases or worries. And you may feel a lightness, a weightlessness. With the breath filling your entire body. And within your heart, you feel and imagine a light as brilliant as the sun, shining and joining the breath. Your body is filled with light and the breath of light, relaxing, peaceful and calm. And as your calm and peace deepen in the lightness, you can feel that this peace and calm extends beyond your body to a field around you. And as the breath, the calm and peace, feel every cell in your body they also fill the space around you with peace. And then with our minds and breath and body combine into one. Consciousness within and around you. And bring the mind back to you, the breathing, your body and consciousness and the space around you. And you may realize that the space is as wide as you can imagine. Your mind space in calm, peace and tranquility. A mind that is clear and knowing. A mind that can see the smallest blade of grass in a field of meadow, mountains, and all the mountains and sky at once. Such is the nature of your calm mind. So now, gently bring all images back to you, into the heart, the space, peace and calm, the body that's rested, every cell, a breath that has cleansed all diseases and worries, and a mind spacious, knowing, clear. So feel your feet wherever they are. The breath, and take a gentle breath in now and exhale. You feel your hands. So when you are ready, you may gently open your eyes. I hope you enjoyed that meditation. I'll change my glasses. And you feel peace and respite and relaxed. So that meditation is an awareness of the spaciousness of your mind, and how in many times when we're focused on problems, that energy that we felt around us and that spaciousness actually contracts within our body. And if we are under some stress at the time, remembering by placing your mind on the breath being a part of you, is accessible all the time. So by bringing the mind to the breath, it reminds you of that calm and peace. And by being spacious, by being wide, going wide with your consciousness, sometimes those adversities or issues that we're experiencing are absorbed in that space. They're not as solid as what they appear. So the Buddha taught us that everything produced is by nature impermanent. Even the causes like people or events that cause us to suffer are impermanent. A toothache eventually goes one way or another. The pain itself is impermanent. They come and go like our emotions. One moment we are sad, another moment we're happy. Moment by moment, our feelings change. So what are we going to associate ourselves with? A happy person, a sad person? Our emotions are fleeting and they do not define us as a person. So what gives the awareness to our emotions and thoughts? I mean, do they just come in the body? Do they produce by the brain? As we discussed last week, the body is dependent on the brain for its functions. However, the emotions, the consciousness itself is not dependent on the body. Our mind is clear and pure by nature. That reflects our thoughts and emotions that we perceive in us, in other people. It is like a movie projector, frame by frame, reflecting outwards. So meditation brings us to a place in which we have never left. It's our pure nature, our Buddha nature. When we see the world in turmoil, moment by moment, everything changes. So we might be focused on a news event, what we read on social media, and we feel ourselves grasping at ourselves. But we're much, much more than just simply the grasping itself. So just take a moment and allow your pure nature, what we experienced before, to just develop within our hearts. We may choose a moment where something worried us in a great way, or the world is in turmoil. A lot of people are worried about the world at the moment. So just imagine that Buddha nature just developing and gathering momentum within our own heart and extending it out to the whole world. The Buddha nature, our nature, and bodhicitta is filled with great compassion, great love, peace and joy. And that peace and joy permeates all your senses. And as we expand our mind outward, it lessens the grips on yourself. And you can focus outwardly again. So what we're generating in our heart is projecting out to the world. So if it's better for that time when you're experiencing some hardship or there's so much happening in the world, just relate to that. Expand outward. You may even close your eyes. Think of our Buddha nature and then look outward again. And what do you see? You see good people out there. There are an enormous amount of goodwill going out there, people who are doing the best that they can to try and improve situations in every way. And we can fall into the trap of seeing just bad things out there. But when we tap into our own strength and our potential, we can refocus that projector, refocus on what we see. Yes, there are things that are not nice out there. But by focusing on those, we lose our perspective. We get worried and we grasp. So focus outwardly, expand, give out that love and compassion within yourself and outwardly. That every person that you meet is a good person. Every person that you meet is trying to do their best for them and their family. See that, and feel the change within your heart. So as we say, one further moment of form produces a further moment of form of a similar type. What that means is if we choose to see or through our own conditioning, see things that are not nice out there, then it produces, like a frame, another moment of not seeing good things, another moment. But if we focus and retrain, recondition our hearts and our minds and our senses, we start to see the good out there. So one further moment of form produces a further moment of form of a similar type. So we are reconditioned to see goodness. So the moment in that frame is created with your mind, you see goodness. And then the next moment of form will be goodness. This is not naivety, it's just to help you within your heart, your mind, your body during difficult times. So that is an explanation of just accessing Buddha nature within your heart and how it can actually help, and the understanding that frame by frame we can change those frames, we can produce a different image out there in the world. So now let's have a look at patience and its opposite, anger. So the definition of patience is a virtuous mind that can remain indifferent to any form of harm inflicted by others and can voluntarily endure any form of suffering and remain thinking of the Dharma. When motivated by bodhicitta, it becomes the perfection of patience. So last week we spoke about bodhicitta was wishing to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So whatever practice that you're doing, when the motivation is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, bodhicitta is like the fuel in our actions. So our internal thoughts really attempt to undertake the practice of patience. So with that thought and bodhicitta, you create a wonderful amount of merit, and even sometimes your negative karma reduces. So whatever you're doing, even if you don't like to do something, but you did out of patience and out of love for somebody, later at the day, just reflect in your mind that you did that to help another person. And you dedicate that merit to the attainment of enlightenment. So thinking of others and all sentient beings can provide strength and a sense of us. So you never separate it from sentient beings in this world. Never alone, always connected at a deeper, more profound level. The merit generated when thinking this way is immeasurable. And even negative karma, as mentioned, is generated, is slowly purified and increases exponentially. But from a practical level, the practice of patience is not to overcome all enemies and harmful people. That's impossible. Being able to pacify your own mind is the equivalent of pacifying all unruly beings. It is like the internal armor of calm, imbued in self-confidence. So whatever people say and however they act towards you, your light-natured mind dispels and dissolves all internal harm towards you. So the more that you grasp, the more you feel the pain. The more open that you are and grounded, the more self-confidence potentially, and whatever people, however they act and whatever people do, can just fly through and out. So Shanti Davis said in Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds that unruly beings are a space. They cannot possibly all be overcome. But if I overcome just thoughts of anger, this will be the same as vanquishing all. This mean verse is when you start to develop more and more patience, your mind is constantly changing. Firstly, the neural structures of the brain changes and you're developing pathways to create patience. The other thing is your consciousness is reducing the strength of anger. And by focusing less and less on the anger and those uncontrolled emotions where we inevitably feel quite remorseful after behaving that way. So moment by moment, your peaceful presence is reflected internally and externally. The world we perceive is from the mirror of our mind. And I'll give you an example of a group of 5 students that were in a class, and the teacher actually was quite upset and behaved in a certain way. They were labelled as being angry. When the 5 students went out to lunch, 4 of them said, wow, and they talked about the anger that the teacher showed at the time. One student who was practicing compassionate meditation wasn't even aware that the teacher was angry. It was a passive-aggressive behaviour. Now, the fact that the other 4 students had seen that anger in that teacher and the 5th didn't is debatable as to whether maybe the student that didn't see anger potentially wasn't focused on it or missed it. But there is also another argument that student who was practicing compassionate meditation may not have had that anger in it to be able to see. So what we see out there is what we have in us. And they missed it because they didn't label that behaviour as anger, whereas the other 4 students did. Now, there are physical signs of anger, of course, and you see it in the news at times, but it does provide a discussion around why didn't that student see the anger in that very moment. So that's the mirror of our mind. We all had experiences where we wished that we did not behave that way and regret it. So, and inevitably embarrassment follows. So from this, when that happens, the most important thing is not to beat yourself up. I think that applying remedies, and we'll look at antidotes of patience a bit later on, but when you behave that way, don't beat yourself up, because there are many reasons how you could take those opportunities and actually transfer them into the path or transform them into the path. First of all, the most important thing to do is to apologize to the person or persons that you've had an uncontrolled emotional outburst with. Second thing is, if you have regret, then the sheer recognition that you have regret means that you're aware that your behavior is not in accord to whatever your values and spiritual paths are. So you've recognized that, and that is an amazing virtuous mind. The other thing you do is just breathe through it. Once you've apologized, breathe through it and recognize that if you have identified it as a non-virtuous behavior, then dedicate the merit. So by my understanding that my behavior was not in accord with your spiritual path, I dedicate the merit to myself and all sentient beings to attain enlightenment. May my bodhicitta strengthened. So that opportunity, the gap that you have created by that recognition is just amazing, and the merit is immeasurable as well. Very good merit. So at that point, what Buddhists do when we've transgressed or we've just behaved in a way that's not really nice and benefits others, we practice a thing called purification. And this purification can be in many forms. The most in the Vajrasattva. Now I'm going to say it, and for those that wish to participate, just Vajrasattva, which is in one of the tankas in the temple when we finally get there, is sitting just above your head, and white light just fills your entire body and cleanses it entirely of all delusions, all pain, all suffering. So I'm going to say it now. I'll read it out because it's a mantra that's similar to another one that we do. So On Vajrasattva Samaya Mana Palaya Vajrasattva Tavena Pratishta Dido Me Ba Van Sutu Soyo Me Ba Van Supu Soyo Me Ba Van Anoraktu Me Baba Sava Siddhi Me Prayacha Sava Kama Sucha Me Chitim Chidiam Kuruhu Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Savadatagata Vajra Mame Mancha Vajra Baha Maha Savaya Sattva Ahum Be. So we do that, and we purify any karma that we're aware of, and there are sometimes subtle forms of behavior that we're not aware of, and therefore this is a practice that we try to do once a day at night time. But the degree of negative karma that we've generated during an outburst of anger varies according to some important factors in the mind at the time, according to the Buddha's teaching. The first, when you look at anger, these three things have to come into place before negative karma is generated. The first is that you completed the intention of anger and the person is hurt. So you have an intention, become angry, the person's hurt. Mission accomplished, number one. You feel satisfaction at hurting him or her. Mission accomplished, number two. And you have no regret or remorse. Mission accomplished, number three. That's a complete anger and needs to be purified. However, if you regret your actions either immediately or later at night, then this lessens the negative karma that's been, or the heaviness of the karma. So what we look at, according to the Buddha taught, that when we wish to retrain or recondition our mind or to generate more patience, we apply antidotes like a medicine to that, which is called the power of the object, is to take refuge in the Dharma teachings, reflection on your spiritual teachings of the Buddha. So that becomes the actual foundation by which you've determined that behavior is not virtuous. So that reminder of all the teachings, your spiritual practice, great love, compassion, equanimity, bodhicitta. The second antidote, this purifies the negative karma. The third is the power of this patient. If I've been a little bit greedy and I couldn't share my lunch, then I will then share other things, or I'll donate money and so forth. The power of commitment is not to behave that way, even for 1 hour in the day. So an example of a karma, and there's a crowd of people and you want to target one person and you say something rude, but that person that you've targeted hasn't really heard you. But another person did, and they were hurt with what you said. Because your intention was to harm person A, but person B was hurt, that's not a complete karma. It's still not a virtuous action, but just demonstrates from a Buddhist point of view that Buddha's teaching is about the strength and potency of our karmas. The more we enjoy hurting others, the deeper that karmic imprint will be even in our hearts. So at that point, you can imagine that the Bodhisattva, that is the person who possesses bodhicitta, overcomes all problems and hindrances simply by subduing the mind of anger. And just for learning, anger, the definition is it's a mental factor which is produced in our minds that perceives its object as unattractive, exaggerates its unattractiveness, and becomes antagonistic and wishes to harm that object. So from a speech point of view, you're yelling at that person, wishing to harm them. In harming somebody, the anger can manifest in three ways. You can think the anger in your mind. You can release it then through your voice and speech. And if not contained at that level, then it goes into your body, and then you can actually hurt someone physically. That's why anger is very important that we eradicate as quickly and as possibly as we can. So Shantideva said that to cover the surface of the earth, there could be insufficient leather, but leather just on the soles of the shoes is equivalent to covering the earth. So it's about that anger in us that we purify, eradicate, we retrain, and we help reduce the potency of that anger. So by doing so, it's like seeing the world in a different light. Patience guards your mind from being disturbed by any harm or difficulty, and with consistent practice, your patience will grow into the Bodhisattva's practice of patience. Aspirants on the Bodhisattva's path work at eliminating all the last traces of anger and impatience from one's mind. So let's look at the benefits and just the benefits of patience and the disadvantages of anger. So the disadvantages regarding anger. First of all, it can destroy your accumulation or store of virtue, merit, and positive karma. So one of the practices that Buddhists do is when we've generated a good karma, we've become virtuous, we dedicate that karma. And that's an important feature because by dedicating it, you actually protect it. So if you've donated quite a substantial amount of money, then you dedicate that action of generosity to yourself and all sentient beings to attain Buddhahood. The causes are endless suffering and agitation with anger. It just keeps cycling on and on and on. Anger can cause others to retaliate. It actually informs them, and we'll talk about that, because if you're angry at somebody, it causes them to anger back at you, to have that anger. Our pets have limits, and some pets are very gentle and calm, but there are other pets, perhaps dogs, that if you agitate them enough, they will retaliate. History shows that the world is full of wars through anger and self-cherishing, and it really is cause of so many deaths in the world. Anger causes isolation and loneliness. People avoid the angry person. You have no tranquility for the person or those around them. You lose a capacity for good judgment and rational thinking, and drives you to places where a rational mind would never, ever go. It causes rage and loss of control, distorts appearances, making the person look ugly, repulsive, and unattractive. And for this reason, anger is the most dangerous delusion of all. Now, I'll give you an example of ugliness and how it can actually affect our appearance, and seeing that anger can stop us from being angry. There was a service area in the city where staff were working behind a counter. And due to, I guess, services not being going well, they had a whole series of people coming in and yelling at them, very angry people, and the staff were feeling demotivated as a result. But during that time, they were having renovations, and the service area, the wall was converted or changed into a mirror. And they found that even though the service wasn't going as well, and they still had issues and customers were coming in, that the rate of angry customers dropped. And the reason that they attributed to that reduction in angry customers was by observing customers. That as they became angry, they saw the reflection in the mirror of how ugly they looked or what it looked like, were shocked by it, and stopped being angry. So that's a true and wonderful story. And sometimes we wish we had a mirror to look at ourselves, how we behave. Patience. And notice the field of your patience is to all people that you perceive. And then the orb of your compassion increases. Now, they're exact words written in the meditations to the path to enlightenment, which definitely is worth exploring. So, but don't be discouraged. Even jagged rocks, the sharpness of the jagged rocks, are smoothed by the sea, the waves coming in and out, gently smooth the rocks. Similarly, anger can be smoothed by the practice. The Buddhist mind is impermanent. It is not permanently angry. It is a conditioned phenomenon, and it can be reconditioned positively. Its nature is the Buddha nature, pure nature, free of defilements. As the delusions such as anger are purified, your mind becomes increasingly manifest. The meditation we did earlier in this session is an example of that expansiveness, the nature of compassion and love and strength and courage just permeating out within your body. But all past lives, anger has affected your happiness and thrown you into rebirth after rebirth. Now we're going to look at an example, a workplace example, in more detail. So consider this. You meet a newly employed staff member for the first time. Months into their work, something changes in them. Their personality unfolds in some way. And at weekly meetings, and you only see them once a week, their behavior is very hurtful towards you. You know, they cut you off at meetings, they disregard your views and opinions. It feels like they're targeting you. You are confused because you've been nice to them. Just pause for a moment. And apply analytical meditation or analytical logic on two levels. One is from a conventionalist perspective and what we should do, and that will be the second thing we discuss. But the first is from a Dharma, the Buddhist teachings. And this is what the Dharma says. This particular person has loved you in previous lives. It's just that they have no memory of it. They have no memory how much they adored you, how much they looked after you. You know this. This causes you to expand and self-grasping lessons. It causes that spaciousness where the person's slightly at a distance and that person's control lessens. Their behavior is from your actions from a previous lives or lives. So you are experiencing results similar to the cause. And this is also called your appearance. It's the appearance similar to the cause. It's a reflection of that karma. It's also known as a dependent arising, but we'll discuss that on week 4. So the moment of truth in that time, when we catch ourselves saying, but I've been really nice, why is he doing this to me? He's targeting me, is that self-grasping again and that moment of retracting all your energy, and you lose some sort of perspective on it. So that's the moment of truth. As soon as you feel that, your conversation says that, expand and apply the Dharma teachings. The Buddha's teachings say, stay calm. As the karma ripens, so it is exhausted, and this one karma will never come back and bite you. And the new karma, the one you have created by being calm, will ripen as happiness in the future. One moment of form produces a further moment of form of a similar type. Resilience builds up resilience. Patience builds upon patience. Ride with the wave of discomfort, however long it lasts, if you can. During this time, check that your labels do not blame that person. Then that karma is finished. Stay with that karma in a positive way, or when you do, then you create positive seeds that ripen for you in happiness. The other thing is that by not retaliating in that moment, and we will talk about the business side of it as well, like from a career point of view, what do you do? Is that you've actually tied that karma between you and that person in this lifetime here. So you're not only doing yourself a tremendous amount of good, but you're also doing that person. And it gets rid of huge amounts of karma in huge blasts, one nun said. Our meditation also gets better. Also in moments like this, we build the momentum of trying to manage our positive mental continuums. From a conventional point of view, and I say the word conventional, this is one way that you can look at it. A colleague of mine engaged a career consultant to help them with their careers and raised the same example with the career consultant. And the career consultant said, at meetings, there are witnesses to the person who behaves this way. Unconsciously, those witnesses support you. When the behavior manifests, be calm and voice your opinion as planned. You look the person in the eyes and say, thank you for your opinion. And then you may turn around to the group and continue speaking. If you retaliate during the meeting, it can be turned into by others as a personality issue between you and that person. So be careful, he repeated. It's important to be calm and ride it out. So that made a lot of sense. Of course, there's a lot more that he said at the time, but that's an example of somebody who earns their income through career support and motivation, and even saying the same thing. And of course, there are ways. But if you are experiencing difficulty at work and you're finding it's really hurting you, then please come and talk to a very close Dharma friend. Don't burden it, share it with others. And if you've got a Dharma teacher, would recommend that you discuss it with that Dharma teacher. So the patience of remaining indifferent to the harm inflicted by others is patience of not retaliating, is being compassionate to enemies. It is a capacity to tolerate harm from others without striking back. Example is also, which is in the book, where the father is caring for his son who has grand mal seizures and is in the middle of a seizure, and he hits his father with the frailing. His father doesn't even think of it, just continues to care for his beloved son. Like that, with the strength of bodhicitta, great compassion, great love, equanimity. So with this, we are unable to gain enlightenment, but it's not to say it's a no-go zone or a stop zone. It's a case of just saying what we need to work on. And we all have our different delusions. Anger may not be one of them. It's just an awareness of it all. You're dealing with your own subtle forms of anger. You're also dealing with the external world, which sometimes can manifest in anger. And part of it is that on our lives, our past lives, we've had this with anger, and the anger can sometimes, as we mentioned in that example, manifest. So just be aware that at times things that you have no logic whatsoever may manifest in anger, simply because of the ties and the strings to previous karma that you've developed in other lives. So it's not possible to defeat all people who harm us. As soon as one is defeated, another one rises. Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden once said that he has people that do not like him. And be patient. It's a fact of life. So advice is that when you feel that you haven't behaved quite right, or you wish that you would have behaved another way, then at night, during just a reflective moment, and it may be through meditation, visualize the events of the day, frame by frame by frame. And then just be aware of the things that were happening around you at the time that may have triggered that expression of emotion that you have regret for. So look at the things around you and what caused it. Were you tired? Were there things where you're under a lot of pressure? Were you interrupted 100 times from A to B? Just be aware of it, because this is a personal encounter with your mind, a personal encounter with your consciousness. It's an up close and personal. So just go through that. Be aware of it. And breathe through it. Naturally, allow your Buddha nature to come, that peacefulness. and then recreate the movie. Recreate it in a way where you go through that and see yourself through all your senses behaving exactly the way that you want to behave. And I guess you know that footballers use this technique before they go out and play a game. They visualize exactly how they want to play, how they catch the ball, how they kick a goal, defense, so forth. It actually, with the reconditioning of your mind, because anger and dissatisfaction is not permanent in our minds. So by visualizing, what you're doing is a further moment of form creates a former moment of form creates a further moment of form of a similar type. So frame by frame, we are creating a behavior and a peaceful mind in the exact way that you wish it to be. So of course, at the night time, you can purify, you can have regrets, and apply the antidotes. And of course, remember bodhicitta. So they're the most important things. So meditations is very important, because by doing this in meditation and accessing the patience, it will be second nature to you. So where do you start? It's usually, of course, we spoke about families, but you may also wish to start by having an event that you know that you may not like to go, for example, supermarket, and wait. So you may think, okay, I'm going to try waiting in line and then exercise patience. No matter what happens, I'm going to exercise patience. So you're reframing and reframing and reframing. So then your practice eventually will be able to expand to embrace all sentient beings. So this is expansiveness. Remember, grasping itself and expansiveness. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about empty of inherent existence, but we're going to discuss it in detail next week, or the week, the 20th of June, because next week there's a retreat. So the thing about when we practice patience, the Buddha suggests that even when we do good deeds, there's even a subtle form of self-grasping, or seeing yourself as inherently existence, meaning that you are independent by your nature. You've done this, you've done that, I've educated myself, I've gone to school, I ate the right foods, I drive the right car, I owe it to myself that who I am today. But what the Buddha means by that is that we're totally dependent on others. If you look at how we function, we are dependent on people growing food, packaging food, importing food. We are reliant on supermarkets stocking those foods. We're reliant on government regulations and protocols about the labeling of those, and the maximum, and all the production of it, and the labels of how much of it's made in Australia, how much of it's made overseas. Just food alone in itself. All the health regulations, all the protocols they put in place to make sure that your food is grown and packaged in a way that doesn't harm you. So that's what the Buddha is saying, is that we're not really inherent existent by our own side. We are dependent on many. But we'll go into that detail next session on the 20th. But what he suggests is that when we do practice patience, it's a very important viewpoint is in cultivating patience is to realize the true nature of the object of patience. So the patience itself, the act of being patient, and yourself as the person practicing patience. All three are empty of inherent existence, conventionally as illusion-like appearances. By seeing that there is no inherent object anger, you will naturally then abide in patience. So Chandakirti says, engaging in the middle way, to a bodhisattva who sees selflessness, by whom, when, and how is he cut? Because he views all phenomena as reflections, he or she will be patient. So also by experiencing suffering yourself, you understand what all beings, sentient beings, suffer. So by my experiencing of suffering, may all living beings be freed from misery. By thinking this way, the intensity of your suffering will diminish and you'll be less inclined to be depressed by it. So some people find comfort knowing that you're not the only one suffering like this. It's a behavioral and a preference in the way that you are in the world. And they do find comfort in knowing that others are there, like in severe floods or bushfires, there's an evacuation centre, a recovery centre. And although people have suffered traumas, they find comfort in each other. The emergency ministry chaplains and all other emergency crews go there to give them, everyone emotional support. So people welcome that comfort and sense of community. So knowing that you're not the only person that's suffering can give you a bit more respite in the way that you're feeling with yourself. That grasping becomes expansive. You still have the issues, yes, but it just lessens the load. Sometimes suffering can serve as reducing your ego and pride. Shantideva says in Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds that further the qualities of suffering are that grief dispels arrogance and compassion arises for those in cyclical existence. Non-virtue is shunned and joy is found in virtue. Milarepa also says that labour on the farm is but self-punishment if one neglects the teachings of the Buddha. Wrong deeds shunned, good deeds done, merit of themselves increase. Now do as I say and practice Dharma. Now what that means is that if you're exercising patience under duress or in a form of control, like you're gritting your teeth and saying, I'm going to exercise patience, I'm going to exercise patience, I'm not going to get angry, I'm not going to get angry. That's the wrong practice of patience. That's, again, retracting your energy into you and you're focusing only on self, which in times you may need to do in a very quick and an emergency method. But overall, you're focusing your energy down. The proper practice of patience is from within and outward. So it's that centeredness, the practice, the willingness, the wanting to practice patience, the commitment to it, the outcome of understanding that it's a path to enlightenment, the believing it, the believing that your bodhicitta will strengthen in doing this. So if you're trying to constrain yourself at work, then labour at work is just merely self-punishment. You're actually doing yourself more damage. So if there are issues there, and there are many good Buddhist senior teachers say that if the situation is really bad, then seek consulting with a Dharma teacher, and in cases that you may have to leave. But going back to Milarepa and the labour on the farm is but self-punishment. If you're grasping at yourself and you're forcing yourself to be patient, that's not the proper way. You're doing yourself more harm. So labour at work is simply just wanting to be patient and exercising that patience. You'll be amazed, really, by doing it, how it gets stronger as you go and practice it. And that thinking, that gap that you create when somebody's speaking or someone's asked you to do something, is just that gap that you require to gather more information on what's actually happening. So it can happen that those practicing can experience the ripening of karma at a less significant level. So as we're practicing and we're increasing our positive karma, our merit, and our negative karma is going down, it's possible that sometimes that a very strong karma from a past life, or a karma that's about to ripen, will be lessened, be less heavier. And that could be that a broken windscreen of a car may be the lesser ripening of a karma that could have resulted in a severe accident in the future. Or somebody stealing your lunch from the fridge at work. How often does that happen? that could be the lessening of a ripening of a karma that could ripen as probably somebody embezzling your money, and your whole business fails because someone's taken that money. So these are the subtleties of the Buddhism and the practice of patience, and just the understanding that we've had, because of our delusions and our self-grasping, we've been seeing ourselves as as existent by our own side. Because of that, we create delusions, which then causes our imprints on our consciousness, which activates things like seeing, wanting, grasping, desire, and then of course it actually continues on in cyclical existence as well. So that's just something I thought I'd put in. So we're going to now, looking at the time, just going to have another brief meditation. And just a reminder that next week there is a retreat, and information can be provided on the Tibetan Buddhist Society website, and the numbers to contact or emails to write if you wish to attend. I believe it's going to be online. So find yourself in a comfortable position where your back is straight, and if you need to move, you can. So you may yourself scan your body by gathering your mind there. Checking parts of your body from feet to legs, knees, back, shoulders. Allow your shoulders to rest, your arms and hands to rest. Your neck, jaw, face, head, forehead, and eyes. Just feel the breath. Be aware of thoughts. Allow your mind or consciousness to monitor the whole body, breathing and awareness of thoughts. Just breathe in gently, breathe out. Breathe in and out. Allow the spaciousness of your mind. Feel the orb and the sphere around you. The patience, calmness, and bring the mind to the breath, breathing in out. And within your heart, you feel the peace and tranquility in the form of light. Any color, expanding out, filling in the entire body, every cell in your body. Clearing even your DNA. Feel the light within your body as you feel warm and peaceful. Allow the light to fill all your senses, your eyes, ears, your speech, your breathing, your touch, your smell. Your senses, and you have a sense of a beautiful fragrance of peace and calm. And you hear melodious sounds of peace. You feel the gentleness and calm around you in your hands and face. That gentleness and patience permeates your entire being, body, breath, consciousness, senses, outward. And within the calm and patience is strength, courage, and awareness. Awareness of heart, awareness of those around you. Allow that peace, patience to permeate out to any persons or group of people that you choose. Allow that peace to enter and fill their hearts. Allow patience to fill their heart. And as your light, consciousness and presence strengthens, light becomes brighter. The people become more and more translucent. You hear them speak. You see them move. But their actions and words are like a whisper. You're aware of what they're saying, but it does not disturb your peacefulness. in the stillness of your mind. As wide as space, sky. Like a bird flying through space, their wings leave no trace in the calmness of your mind. And now bring to mind someone that you may find difficult communicating with or trust. Or imagine it for someone else. And in the spaciousness of your mind, see the person, hear the person, and as you expand, become aware of Buddha nature, powerful nature, emanates out. And what that person or persons do. Do not penetrate within the space of your Buddha nature. There is no control. There is just peace and patience. And like clouds in the sky, they eventually disappear with the warmth of the sun as your patience will generate a peaceful presence. So your peace, patience, great love, great compassion, equanimity are within your heart. And then you imagine all sentient beings as far as you can perceive. You say, I wish you to be happy. I wish you to have peace. May you be free of suffering. Now imagine needing to wait for hours and hours. See yourself imbued with patience, the gentleness of your speech, the lightness of your body. Time goes by moment, and patience builds within. And you smile. So gradually now bring that image back to you. Back to your heart. So take a gentle, fresh, clean breath in, and then gently breathe out. Just feel the light still within your heart. Feel your own strength. Feel your resilience. And the lightness of mind and body. So when you're ready, you may gently open your eyes. I really hope you enjoyed that meditation. So as I said a little bit earlier, next week is the retreat. So the next session will be on the 20th. And in that session, we'll be going through the six perfections, the grounds that the Bodhisattvas follow in terms of how we practice generosity, ethics, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. We've already done patience, and we'll focus on calm abiding and insight. And the calm abiding will be discussed in detail, and we'll do our best to do a meditation on that and to discuss the various ways of attaining calm abiding. So our minds are incredibly pure and knowing, and our capacity to remember things and retrieve information at the right time and act with good problem solving skills, and be patient and wait to hear before we act is just amazing. So I dedicate all the merit that you have generated today to you. May you attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Be peaceful and enjoy your week ahead. Things may change moment by moment as they do. So thank you for your time. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. I'll just wait and Money will let me know. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it, Money. So thank you all for joining in and for your time. No more questions. Good. So thank you for your time and thank you too. So I'll see you on the 20th. Those going on the retreat, enjoy. Thank you. untitled way. Maria, can you say something about helping children with, I didn't see the last bit. Oh, with anger. I see, yes. As we spoke last week, sometimes children are born with anger from previous lives. That's why at times when you see a newborn baby, like they might be crying or they may be happy, but it's a disposition that they've had from previous lives. So that particular karma can be very strong. Usually, and if a child is angry, if it's consistently angry, then I think it's could be time for professional assistance. But my nephew suffers from he has Asperger's and can be very angry at times. So depending on the age of the children, I've seen it that they, and with my own, that by applying discipline, showing that their anger is not something that needs to manifest in their lives, and you create boundaries. So if they behave with anger, then you discipline them in some way where they will feel that the discipline is actually a way of stopping that behavior from occurring. It's a real fine skill to be able to work with angry or children that have anger, but as a parent and also seeing it and applying some form of discipline to say this anger is not good in this lifetime, and putting those boundaries and setting and carrying out the actions. As you say, if you behave this way and I'm not going to give you your, take you to the toy shop, or carry that threat out, that gentle, loving threat out, because that's the only way that they're going to learn in terms of that. In respect to anger, you can, depending on the child, and you can meditate on that child and removing his anger, purifying it and returning it to him. So, and also say mantras for him if you wish. That's from the Buddhist perspective. And by doing that, you're intensifying your connection with that child and applying the giving and taking on all his anger, purifying it and giving him peace. That would be my suggestion. Okay, I'll then disconnect. Thank you everyone for joining in, and thanks Mani for your help, and may you have a wonderful, peaceful time. Thank you, Victoria. Hopefully we'll see you on the 20th perhaps. You take care then, all right? So I'm going to log out now.